I, F21, think my roommate, F21, drugged me, but I'm not sure. So some background here. I've known my roommate for about 2 years now. We met in college, and once we moved out of dorms we agreed to get our own apartment together since we both didn't make enough to live by ourselves. Even though she dresses really punk-ish. Dyed black highlights, leather jacket and choker. The usual stuff. She's incredibly bubbly, upbeat and laughs at just about anything. Even if it's not actually funny, she's so nice that I can't actually believe she'd do something like this. But all the evidence points towards it. A couple days ago, I went out on a date with a guy I'd been chatting to online. It went really well and my roommate agreed to pick me up afterwards. We only have one car. Once we got home, she made me a drink of vodka to celebrate the date being a success. I drank it, then I feel slightly ill and then blackout. Next thing I know, I wake up naked in bed. I had a huge hangover. My legs ached, and even 2 days later I can't remember a single thing about that night. I asked my roommate about it and all she said was that I couldn't handle a shot of vodka, but I've drunk more than that and been fine with it. She knows I have. I've not been drugged before, so I don't know about the warning signs. But I know that forgetting an entire night because of a single shot just isn't normal. Every time I ask my roommate about the night, her answers are always vague and often don't add up. She's claimed that I've had 2 shots. But then 15 minutes later said I only had the one and that I was just dehydrated. I've checked my body since though and there's no bruising anywhere. Aside from an area that was already bruised before. It doesn't hurt anywhere. If she was gonna drug me, why would she seemingly just put me to bed? Why drug me in the first place? I don't want to confront her with this in case I'm wrong. But I don't know what to do here. Is there a way to definitively find out? How do I confront her? If this is true, I'm so worried, but on the one hand, maybe I have it all wrong. Go to the doctors as soon as possible and get blood test. A lot of drugs hang about for 2 to 3 days in small amounts. Just see a doc ASAP for blood and urine testing. Why did your legs hurt all of the sudden and you woke up naked? Is this how you normally go to bed? Go to your primary care provider and ask for a blood test. Tell them you suspect you may have been drugged via a drink, so they will know what to test for. If roomie did spike your drink, traces of the drug could still be in your system. I agree, however, that it doesn't make a lot of sense without any apparent motivation or malice. For what it's worth, even if you have been able to hold liquor well in the past, you may have had a much lower tolerance that evening for any number of reasons. Have you lost a lot of weight recently? Did you have any drinks earlier while out on your date? Did you eat your typical diet earlier in the day? Or did you go extra light on food or fast at breakfast and lunch so you could consume extra calories on the date? Did you work out strenuously in the gym and or do a high-intensity exercise routine earlier in the day? Do you have a low-grade infection or illness? Are you on your period or premenstrual? Any of these things, or a combination, could alter your body chemistry and alcohol tolerance enough to let one strong drink knock you out and give you a bad hangover the next day. At the very least, though, I'd ask roomie to tell you everything that happened between the time you took the drink and when you woke up naked in bed the next morning. Did she undress you and put you to bed herself that night? Next thing I know, I wake up naked in bed. I had a huge hangover. My legs ached, and even 2 days later I can't remember a single thing about that night. This is obviously super dodgy. Full range of checks required, from drugs to other things. Like right now. The obvious reason is generally the right reason, and it is not reasonable to presume alcohol. Man, the responses here. So we have A. Roomie potentially drugged you. Circumstantial but possible. And is someone that you have known for some time but apparently don't entirely trust. B. Date potentially drugged you. Also circumstantial and possible. But you aren't confident. C. Possible medical condition. Out of all of the responses, the only correct answer here is doctor. 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 If you were drugged, then get further evaluation and contact the authorities. If you were not drugged, then they may be able to explain or discover an underlying condition you either developed or were unaware of. Stop taking sketchy advice from strangers. You have your path forward. Go get checked out for, at least, your peace of mind. And do it immediately. Good luck. I would talk with your roommate that you suspect your date drugged you because you don't remember anything of that night after you drank the vodka. Tell her you have an appointment with your doctor for blood tests. That drugs stay in the blood for a couple days. And you will file a police report for further investigation, and if she would come with you to the police since she picked you up and was with you the rest of the night. Watch how she reacts to this. Is it possible that your roommate sawed you while you were out of it? See if you can grab her phone and see if she has any pictures of you on it in a compromising way. Probably slim to none chance, but people do weird shit. My money is on your date. You keep saying you only had a smoothie, but it's entirely possible to spike a smoothie. The timeline makes sense with something like ketamine or low-dose GHB. Vodka exasperated symptoms. Your date probably thought it didn't affect you like he anticipated, so didn't feel a need to stay with you. You've known your roommate 2 years and this guy is a complete random from online? Like, think about it. I would gather all of the evidence you can first before confronting your roomie. Go see a doctor ASAP. And if it comes back positive for something, I'd try to get a sneaky camera in a common area and try to catch her in the act before confronting her. Do you live at high altitude by chance? I also see you described it as a vodka drink, which makes me think it might have been way stronger than it seemed. A few years ago, my friend and I were spending time with a friend from home who mixed us 2 margaritas each. And we both fully blacked out and had paralyzing hangovers for the next 24 hours. Despite the drinks not tasting strong at the time and both of us having a high tolerance for alcohol. I second the comments saying to get a blood test. But unless there are other warning signs from her, I'd suspect it was just a weird reaction. Go to the doctor. Maybe tell your roommate you think you were drugged. Not necessarily by her. Engage her reaction. Has she ever done anything suspicious before? This is quite a leap if not. I'm sorry this happened. Up. It sounds really scary. Is there any chance your date could have drugged you instead? For example, it can take up to an hour to feel the effects of ketamine when ingested. How long between your last mouthful with your date and taking that shot with the housemate? Big oof. Big oof. If your gut is telling you that something isn't right about what should have been a normal evening, I think you should take it as a warning to heed in the future. The media satirizes serious situations like these a lot, not to make light of them, but rather spread awareness of a common theme in their form of execution. If things are starting to add up and are pointing towards a particular outcome, there's some merit to the way you're feeling. Especially if you had a large meal. It's possible you were drugged while out and it took a while for it to kick in. GHB sometimes takes as long as 1 to 1.5 hours. I know that for a fact. I'd consider suspecting the date. Benzodiazepines mixed with alcohol equals blackout. Sounds like that's what happened here. Perhaps your date slipped something and it didn't kick in until later when you had the drink. I need to throw this in. I have seen like a lot of girls mentioning that they got really sick from the alcohol they drank at the time they were drugged. When they consumed it at a later date, some even found out they were drugged earlier because of this. Also, is it a possibility that he could have drugged you and you just didn't feel the effect until later? Maybe it was his plan to abuse you on the way home, but they didn't kick in, so he just drove you home instead? It seems like a more logical option in my head instead of your friend of several years suddenly doing it thinking face. Either way, please be careful around any of them for the next period of time. You're focusing on the roommate without any prior strange behavior, and you have been living with her for years. What would her motivation be to do something like that? How about this theory? Your date drugged you. It took longer than he expected to kick in. So when you got home and added a drink, you blacked out? Your date's motivation would be obvious, I think. I went out on a date with a guy I'd been chatting to online. You've known her for 2 years and this guy for 1 date. And you think she's the one that drugged you? Assuming you actually were drugged and it wasn't something else going on with your body. Whatever the explanation is, this is all very upsetting and I am so sorry. I hope you can figure it out and stay safe. Throughout the comments you seem adamant it wasn't the date, despite him being a stranger. And you seem to strongly believe it was your roommate and friend that you have known for years. But you don't really have any sense of motive for your roommate. No previous weird behaviors. No previous suspicions. You also don't explain why you are so sure it could not be the date. Did you ever leave the table? Turn your head? Take a phone call? If they are practiced with drugging, they can do it right under your nose. Lastly, as others suggested, it could be something other than being drugged. Did you eat anything? You went on a date and only had a smoothie and then came back and drank 1 to 2 shots of vodka. Yes, blacking out is an extreme reaction, but it seems a little odd emo to say, I was drugged and all of the evidence points to my really nice friend. I guess I am wondering if you could provide more of an explanation for why you've seemingly made up your mind. I ask because if you do find out through testing that you were drugged, accusing your friend would be the end of the friendship. I guess I just want you to make sure you've ruled out the stranger.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.